Great. Welcome back to the Peruvian Waltz podcast. I'm your host. I'm joining you back from Lima. I'm Brian Birdie. Yes, I was on vacation the last 2 weeks. I'm sure Peter would have told you. So thanks again to Peter and Christopher for taking my place. And we're back here. So I am very happy to be back. And we have a full house today. Well, almost a full house. Diego and Brian aren't here, but everyone else is. So what I want to do is the main panelist first, the one who's always been on. First of all, Christopher, who I've been tearing apart the last 30 minutes in the Google Hangouts. But we love you. How are you, Christopher?
I'm doing great. You know, it's so refreshing. I mean, me and Peter had some great conversations. Let's be honest. But It's so nice to see you guys. It's good to be back with the whole crew. Of course, we're missing some of our other panelists, but it's good to get to interact with all of you guys and get to talk some Peruvian soccer. Yeah.
We actually nearly had a full house. We had Diego got stuck at work last minute. Yeah, real life problem, blah blah blah. And there was Brian who went to a concert, so we could have had a full house. We'll have it one day, I'm sure of it. If we don't expand anymore, that is, which I'm not sure if we will. We could not. If we expand, we'll probably never have a full house. But I'd like to have one before. And I'm just rambling now. So Peter, how are you? Have you got a haircut?
Yes, I did. And I also, once again, played the role of Jefferson Farfan while Paolo was away. And Christopher played the role of Christian Cueva to help support me. So it was a lot of good fun, but good to have you back and good to have everybody else on the show.
I love this penalty style. But
it's true. It's true. You are very clutch. You're
more ace on Flores, Christopher, because you're so dedicated. You're there always when we need you. All right. We're now a long-time returning guest, Michael Williams. How are you? The only non-Peruvian on this pod, but he very much knows Peruvian football. Welcome back, Michael.
Thank you. Lovely to be here. I think the last time I was on was before the World Cup, believe it or not. I think we were talking about the Scotland League. So
yeah, it's been a while.
When we thought we would still get to the quarterfinals, etc. When we were joking about England going out to the group stages, or a long time ago, it seems. So I'm delighted to be with you again. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and what was I going to say? I forgot. I was going to make a brilliant joke, but I forgot it.
If you want to make a joke about the reasons for my absence and being the illness, I was trying to think. If Peter says he's a far fan,
no, I'm injury.
Maybe Alberto Rodriguez can't stay fit.
When I remember now.
Good one.
You never told us how the Russell hunt went.
Yeah, we're on a Russell hunt. But I think that's it. Rodriguez, not prone to injuries, but Wednesday tries to do a good job. I think that's what we will stick to.
Okay, fair enough. And lastly, we have Michelle back on again. Michelle hasn't been on in 2 weeks, but she's been on every other podcast since he's debuted. So welcome back, Michelle, over in Australia.
Thanks. Hello. G'day, mate. That's my token Australianism for you.
Beat me to it.
Also the token female. So here we go.
All right, so let's begin. So I guess we could talk about some decentralizado discussion because I'll be honest, I have been a bit under a rock because on vacation I did not watch any Peruvian football. I just saw Sport Boys with Ayacucho, but I do know some of the context of it, and I'm going to discuss that. So Cristal is first. The opportunity is pretty much done. Maybe Alianza has one last shot at it because they have a game in hand. Am I right, Peter?
They do indeed, and 5 points back.
But I don't trust Alianza because I don't want to know anything about Bengochea. I'm going to rant behind it a little bit. But what do you guys think of the opportunity so far? I'll start with Michael. Let's give him this new shot since it's been a while since he's been on.
Well, I think it's been an interesting tournament, hasn't it? I mean, I think Cristal are going to win it, and I think they're going to win it comfortably, and I think they deserve to win it. I think they've been the best side. Alianza started well, didn't they? But their football has never really convinced, has it? I think for me they started well. They got some good results, but they've dropped a few points recently, and I've never been totally convinced of them. Even though with their kind of new striker, I think he's added something to their game, hasn't he? Villamarin, I think, is going to be a good player for them. So I think their squad's got better. Maybe in the Clausura they're gonna be even better. I think Cristal are going to be the worthy winners. I think it's been an interesting tournament. I think there's been a few teams who have maybe overachieved, have done a little bit better than one would have thought. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's been a classic, has it? I mean, I've been in England for 3 weeks as well, but the games I've seen since I've been here, I don't know if it's been a classic tournament, but yeah, so.
It's been an ordinary tournament. I agree with Cristal, even though they're not been as good in the Apertura as they have been earlier this year. I mean, they're winning the games. They're resilient, so they sure they don't have to play good football always to win. I thought today, personally, against Huancayo, they played very well, but they didn't win it. So that's an example. And I think Cristal are going to be the worthy owners as well. As for Alianza, I'm gonna let one talk first, and then I'll talk about Alianza because I have a lot of things to get out of my chest. Christopher, what do you think on this one? I'll let you get to this. I'll give you some opinion, some room for opinions on the whole thing, and then I'll ask Peter and Michelle questions.
Okay, well, first of all, I think I would agree with Michael's comments that I think that Cristal is the worthy champion to be of the tournament. I mean, they've proven that they are a serious team, a professional team that's committed to the game. To winning. Let's just hope. I mean, even until now, we just recently celebrated 21 years since they made it to the Libertadores final, and I think that maybe that's really where I would honestly start focusing, considering that they're basically one game away from being in the final in December. Then they've got plenty of time and no excuses to start improving their international game. They have attended. There was one point where they attended 10 Libertadores in a row, and they don't really have much to show for it. So that's really what my plea would be to Cristal right now, to be a worthy representative of Peru in general. Other than that, I think the tournament has been pretty much meh. Nothing too special. I think Alianza Lima, let's be honest, they have improved. We complained about them a lot at the beginning of the year, counting their Libertadores campaign also. But looks like I don't know what, it took him an extra 4 months to figure out something they should have figured out a long time ago. Mm-hmm. I think their new striker is working wonders for them. We're starting to see some more stability, and I'm sure that we'll see him in the final. To be honest, I think that there's still plenty of tournament left. And, of course, Cristal will be taking one of the semifinal slots because they will have won 2 tournaments automatically. But there's still another semifinal that's still in play that could take them to the final. And I think that if they tweak the system a little bit more, I think that we can easily see him in the final. I really don't see, especially the way that Melgar is playing right now, I don't know. I do not see Melgar or any other team, honestly, really competing hard against Cristal and Alianza right now.
Now, I think that the next bit we have to get on to, and this is what I'm going to ask Peter and Michelle about, is La U are able to sign players again, which is big news. I don't think if they get a really very good player, which they're looking to some stormers right now, which most of them are probably white smoke, to be fair. But I think this is big news because they can challenge for the Clausura again. I think that the main focus is going to be trying to stay up and the next year fight for the title. But I think this is important for them to sign players now because this is they don't have Ruiz or Fano to save them, but they can get someone else. They need a forward and they need have one player in every position, even goalkeeper, I would say. Except you have Subsuk who you can play and you choose not to. So. Michelle, what is your opinion on Lowe being able to sign players again? How much do you think is going to help them?
I don't think that there's much that you can do at this point in the season. To be honest, I think it's a good idea to get some players, but I think when you're, kind of easing out into the end, I guess it's what's
not much interest? I'm guessing.
Yeah, who's going to want to join so far out, and then, but it's good to know for next, for the next season, because then it's you can actually get a decent player and actually improve from, where they ended up now, which is quite low on the table and then, actually start making their way up. So, I think it's good, but I don't think it'll change much at this point.
Yeah, I think that most of the players that are linked are a bit white smoke. I mean, Germán Denis is a maybe because he's 37 and he's kind of done. Pinilla is apparently off the table now. Michael actually told me about that one. I didn't actually know about it. Like I said, I'm under a rock at the moment. But it was believable because Cordova is apparently friends with him. Is that right, Michael?
Yeah, apparently they're really intimate. Yeah, and I think it comes down to money. But I'd heard that Pinilla was ready to come and play for him if they could. But
I heard he was in Argentina.
Has he kind of been released, or I think he's come to the end of his contract in Argentina or something? And I think he must have played with Cordova somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, in Chile or something. So it said, but the article I'd read, it said that they'd been at each other's wedding or something. They were very good friends, and he liked the idea of coming to play for him, but he wasn't sure whether Laú could finance it or whether they had the money. So I suppose it's a waiting to see on that one. If they can't do it, they can't do it. But I think there would be interest from especially from Laú and Pinilla. Maybe to come and play with your friend, it would be nice.
Now, before we get to Peter, which is going to give his opinions on these choices, some of the choices that were reported by Gustavo Peralta from Libero. He's a very, I know Libero isn't the most reliable source ever, but Gustavo Peralta is someone I trust a lot. And Christopher loves that because he loves his exitosa as Libero. It's all his tabloids. He loves those. But no, Gustavo Peralta reported this. He is quite a trustworthy source. He says some of the choices are, that was Pinilla and Denis. There's Juan Diego Gutierrez, who might make his comeback to the club. There is Alberto Rodriguez, of course, who's apparently only joining if Laú can agree to lower his wage a little bit from the last time he was there. And, of course, there's Pablo Lavandera and Luis Aguilar, which kind of makes me laugh because if you saw my tweet earlier, Luis Aguilar left Peñarol to join Alianza Lima, then he left Alianza to join Peñarol's rivals in Nacional, and now he's leaving Nacional and leaving Alianza Lima's rivals in Laú. So he's like the ultimate traitor of football, and it just makes me laugh. But Peter, what do you think on these choices, and what choices do you think are realistic in your eyes?
Well, the Aguilar one, I think, is, and not only do I not want to see that narrative be fulfilled, because I think that would be a fantastic story.
It'd be hilarious too.
It would be hilarious. I think it's also a pretty reliable target, or maybe a more realistic target. The Rodriguez one, another caveat to that is they want to address the attack before they maybe address the defense. I know that after the Clásico, that Nicolas Cordova was actually very, he was full of praise, really, for his defense and how they've improved over the 5 games he's been there. Not quite there yet, but he has faith that they will get to the level he wants them to be at. So I think that that's probably lower on his list of priorities. But again, as you mentioned, if Rodriguez comes on a lower wage bill, then obviously he won't say no to someone who's so experienced and obviously played for the club a couple of years ago. But other than that, I mean, we obviously seen the Beto da Silva link, but, is he going to want to go there? I know he'd be the main man, but to be in a relegation battle, which they're actually only out of the relegation zone on goal difference right now, I believe, is that the best situation for a player who's 21 years old, coming off a lot of injuries and just needing to get consistent minutes? Maybe not. And plus, you would imagine the wages are going to be pretty high as well. And will will Universitario, be able to finance that? Not so sure.
Now, I guess we can segue into the Clásico. Unless, Peter, you have all the questions. Is there anything that we segue into this?
Yes, we can actually, and it talks about the transfer ban being lifted, and that is from Abel Gamarra at Avalanda81, and he asks, do you agree with Laú getting their transfer ban lifted, and was the punishment too harsh to begin with?
I'll let Peter and Christopher answer this one because I'm clueless on politics, so I'll stand by.
All right. I'll just kind of maybe tee it up for Christopher, just give my quick opinion then. So I don't technically agree with the decision because I think this was likely done for a couple of reasons. One, to help them in the relegation battle. We all know that if Laú goes down, that's a huge story. although I think it would kind of help them a little bit, get their finances in order, all that stuff. I'm also interested to know if the story involving the Universitario Barras Bravas, who were allegedly, this is a report, which Universitario and Gremco denied, but they allegedly sent death threats to the FPF licensing committee by the request of Gremco, who kind of encouraged them to do this.
I believe that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I believe that.
You believe that? Okay.
Go ahead. Sorry about that.
So those some members of the licensing committee actually stepped down as a result. So is it coincidental that days after that report comes out, that the licensing committee then announces, "Oh, Universitario, you're totally cool to sign players now. So yeah, go ahead." I think that there's some sort of tie into that, and it does reek of something pretty shady. I don't know what Christopher thinks, though. Maybe he has a different thought.
I don't think the punishment was hard. I that's what I want to see out of the federation. I want to see some order. I want to see some discipline, and we know that there's problems inside of the Peruvian FA also. But to me, the punishment was fine. I don't care if it's a big club. I don't care if it's a small club, right? Things were much worse, honestly, in the 80s and 90s. When they were actually tilting the scale in favor of Universitario and Alianza Lima and Cristal at different points in history. So, other than that, to be honest with you, I would really need to just look more into the actual legal reasons, laws, and kind of the logic that they gave to be able to truly analyze if this is actually something that's being done out of fear, or this is something that they have reached some kind of actual agreement between the FA and Gremco to let Universitario sign players finally. Until then, at the same time, you can't discard anything because it's Peru. I mean, the craziest stuff is possible. so yeah, who knows? There is a chance that Gremco might have played dirty. I mean, but I'm gonna choose not to believe it until I see it. So I investigate the case a little bit more. But now, talking about these signings, I mean, yeah, it's great news that Universitario is going to be signing players. But let's be honest, even if they could have signed players 5-6 months ago, did they have the money? Do they have the money now? I mean,
probably
honestly, probably not. I mean,
that's what we say. That's what we say about them every season, though. That's what we say about them every season, though, and they still sign the players. I mean, they don't care. It hurts them, but they don't seem to care.
Yeah, but again, this is why they also go into such a deeper depression of just wage problems and financial problems. That's why they actually were prevented from signing players, because the FFA said, listen, you guys are in such huge debt, you should not be allowed to sign any of these players. This is ridiculous. They're almost $200 million in debt. So that's why, and I'm going to play sort of the devil's advocate to Christopher here. I totally believe that there was something dirty going on under the table, because the FFA and Gremco have been clashing for months, right? So I'm sure something sort of underhanded happened in order to get that ban lifted. And again, if they're allowed to sign players, that's great for the short term, but does it help them for the long term? I really don't think it does.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to the El Clásico? Now, I just before I let anyone else talk, I want to get this off my chest that Bengochea keeps bottling it. I mean, generally, it's he keeps bottling it. It's gone to the point where I'm making memes about him. If I waste my time with Photoshop making memes about you, you are doing something wrong. And this is what I'm saying. You all know I'm a Roberto Villamarin fan, okay? So he makes the signing. It's a very good signing. It fills in a weak position. And he puts him a freaking winger. I mean, are you serious? He's a right back. It does my head in. It generally does. I said something earlier on Twitter. That if he had Dani Alves, and he had a prime Dani Alves, he would still play Jose Cotrina and Luis Garro right back, and they play Dani Alves as a striker or something, or midfield. It's doing my head in, because he gets all these good players, all these good wingers, and he plays them out of position all the time. This is some unimparty crap, man.
Now, in fairness, Dani Alves as a winger at Juventus was actually very effective. So it might work under Bengochea as well.
You can probably just like it'll work in Peru. Let's be fair, but
yeah, good point.
You know my point. Let's pretend Bengochea was a manager in Europe, and you had Luis Garro and Jose Cotrina, and he played him over Dani Alves.
Well, I think he'd have bigger problems than that if he had Garro and Cotrina as his right backs.
It does my head in. He shows so much favoritism to them. And he's so stubborn. Like, I know he's doing well with Alianza. You can say that all you want, but he's hurting Peruvian football, if you ask me. Because Alianza has so many good young players, and he's not playing any of them. Like, no matter how much he loses, no matter how much he gets lucky in games, he just never changes anything. Like, he's so stubborn. He's the epitome of stubbornness.
Do you not think that there's some kind of there's something to be said for there's a bit of stability at Alianza, isn't there? I mean, you might after the Libertadores kind of fiasco, there was a bit of talk about whether he would be off or whether his position was going to be untenable. But he's kind of stayed there, kind of settled the storm. He has made a few good signings. I know his football's. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? I mean, when they interview the players from them, they say, "Do Alianza play well?" And they had an interview of Hoberg in El Comercio. It was really interesting. "Do Alianza play well?" And he says, "Yeah, we play well." He says, "It's not pretty and it's our style, but we play well." And you can like or you can dislike Alianza's football, but as a club, they're pretty stable, aren't they? I mean, they seem to be pretty stable. And I'm not sure he is hurting Peruvian football that much. I don't think he is bringing on the young players as well as he could be.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go first.
Stable atmosphere, isn't it? I think at a club which isn't that common.
Yeah. The only thing that bothers me is that we have the Bolsa de Minutos rule, which I think is a very good rule. Some people have complained about it in the past, but I think it's a very good rule. I think it does help Peruvian football in some way. But some managers, and then Bengochea is very much a corporate of this, looks to excuses for it. Like, he has Quevedo, and that's pretty much all he uses. Like, he brings on Sanchez sometimes. I mean,
hey, no Quevedo, no party.
Yeah, no Quevedo, no party. But
he's tried hard with Quevedo. Quevedo early in the season came late to training, didn't he? And he said to Quevedo, "You're not playing."
Yeah.
And he gives Quevedo chances, and he brought Quevedo on the other day. And Quevedo, I mean, that was the funniest moment of the Clasico for me. His fight, it was I mean, it was sad, really. You think you've got so much potential, and the riot police are almost kind of escorting you off. And I think Bengochea looks at Quevedo, and you could see he exchanged some very strong words with him, and he obviously wants to trust him, but sometimes the younger players have really got to help themselves a little bit as well, and they've got, Quevedo's got to look at himself and say, am I doing enough? And there must be a few other players. I always say this, that we don't see them train. We see
that
them.
happens a lot in Peru, and another thing you get to see a lot is the fans go onto the pitch, they're training, and they punch the players. That has happened with Lau, I think 2 seasons ago, happened with Alianza 3 seasons ago. Thank you. So let's actually talk about the Clásico itself. Michelle, I'll let you start. What do you think? What was your thoughts on this game from what you saw?
So I only got to watch the highlights because I'm pretty sure I couldn't watch the game because I must have been out or something. Priorities, am I right? Anyways, so I watched the highlights, and they both, it was a pretty good game from what I could see. It didn't look like it was like trash football. Like, it looked pretty decent. It looked pretty good. But from what I saw was Lau had no defense. There was Alianza was just running through them from what I could see. But there was some good shots and some great saves is from what I noticed. But yeah.
Butron. Lau Slayer.
Yeah. Leo Buffon, actually, in this game.
Gianluigi Butron. You could also say that.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean,
I'll let you talk, Peter, next. I guess I can ask you a question. Who do you think? What result do you think? Does this hurt both teams, or does this hurt one particular? Who do you think gets the advantage in this one?
Well, it has to be Universitario, I think, because any points help them in the relegation battle. The draw, you could say, killed Alianza's chances of winning the Apertura. I know that they still have a slight chance to win it, but given the fact that Cristal really only have to win one of their final 2 games against either Sport Rosario or Binacional, and Binacional are not very offensive-minded. You would imagine they're going to do the business there. So it definitely hurt Alianza. But Universitario, it's funny because I watched them play, and I watched Cordova's system. And as expected, they control possession. They had something like 61% possession in the game. They had 17 shots. They moved the ball very nicely. Javier Nunez and Diego Manicero were very lively in the final third. But again, it's the same problem. They don't have that clinical striker. They don't have a Neumann. They don't have an Herrera. They don't even have an Afonso, some sort of a target man, a reference point. Because so many shots that they had in and around the box were either blocked, they went wide, or it was Nunez or Manicero kind of cutting in from inside and having those opportunities, which were very low-quality chances. And because you had Gerson Vasquez pushing up, that left the entire wing exposed. If there was a proper winger there instead of Villamarin, I guarantee you Alianza would have won that game because they had some very dangerous counterattacks. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing before I go to Michael and Christopher. I did want to say one player that's really disappointed me this year for La U is Roberto Asiucho. Last year, near the end of the year, he was very good. Got a call up, never took advantage of it, never kicked off like I thought he would. And he just disappeared completely this year. Like, he's not doing anything. It's got to the point where not even La U fans are talking about him. So,
but on one hand, though, he did play out of position in this game. He played on the right wing, which he clearly did not look comfortable in. And again, I mean, there's so much uncertainty surrounding that club. He had to go through another coaching change. It seems like Pedro Trollio was really working well with him. Cordova, I think, can, but I think right now his priority is, I got to keep this club in the first division, right? Yeah. And sometimes you have to put, developing youngsters on the back burner. But by the same token, he definitely hasn't been nearly as consistent enough. But I'm sure that there's something there mentally that is kind of blocking him a little bit, because you can kind of see that the potential is there. He has the ability to take on defenders, and he's just not really taking those opportunities. And it was very apparent in the Clásico on Saturday.
To be fair, it did take Ason Flores 3 seasons to get his gear together at La U, so yeah, maybe we'll wait one more. And if I'm giving him one more season after this. Michael, what do you think of our Clásico?
Yeah, I mean, I think these kind of Clásicos, they're not often great games, are they? I think they're more kind of, there's a bit of tension involved in them, which means they're interesting to watch rather than kind of being a great kind of spectacle. Yeah, I agree with Peter. I think La U were happier, but I don't think either team were delighted with the points. It was kind of not enough for both. Was it Alianza needed to win? La U, I think, really wanted to win as well, didn't they? So I think it was a point where it suited La U more, but I don't think they were too happy. Yeah, a fair point. Yeah. I mean, a fair point. I said I don't think it was great football. I had the impression. My impression was that La U couldn't do any more. That La U maybe couldn't play football with what they had. Alianza could play more, but chose not to. That's my kind of story
of their lives.
The La U couldn't do any more. That was just their kind of capability and what they've got in their position at the moment. That's really what they can do. They can battle. They can fight. They're fighting for their lives. They can give everything. La U, Alianza, on the other hand, I think are capable of more, but for whatever reason, didn't really show it. So, yeah.
I will say, though, that Alianza, again, if it wasn't for Villamarin playing on the right, I think they should have won that game. They had the better chances. I mean, if anybody who watched it, they would see. I actually think that Alianza, if I had to pick a more deserving winner, it would have been them, because I think they executed their game plan much more effectively than Universitario. They kept them at bay for the most part. Most of their chances were not very threatening, whereas Alianza's was. And Mauricio Afonso, I mean, look, they finally got a target man in that team that gives them the ability to counterattack more effectively and to attack more effectively. Gabriel Leyes wasn't that kind of player. Jaime Opposito is more of a poacher, so he doesn't really fit into that as well. And you can see that the chemistry with Holberg and Afonso is working out very nicely. If you just have a proper right winger on the other side, that could be a very good attack.
You can go first, Michael.
Do you think it was a penalty?
I'm debating on that. I would say in real time, yes. If you look at the replay, maybe not. I mean, because you see a lot of those challenges happen in the middle of the pitch, and they don't always get called. There were actually a couple of challenges in the middle of the pitch in that same game that didn't actually get called very similarly. So it was a very big decision to give, and I wonder if the referee was maybe, I don't want to say he was overawed, but look, I mean, you're at Estadio Nacional. It's predominantly Universitario fans. The stadium looked pretty full. I mean, it was a very tense sort of atmosphere, as it would be in a Clásico. I wonder if he saw the challenge and thought, okay, well, Gerson Vasquez clearly got fouled here. I got to give a penalty.
Well,
and he was kind of
his
getting
first
the business.
Clásico.
Was it?
Yeah, it was his first Clásico, and I know that he's one of the serious contenders to being the future Peru representative at FIFA level, not coaching, refereeing. So this was kind of his trial by fire, and they did that on purpose, and he's also a younger guy per se compared to some of the other refs. Well, now that I jump, I'll let you finish, and then I'll give my pointers, Peter.
No, but that is actually a good point to make, because I think overall, other than that penalty, and even then, I think if I always come with the point of view, if the referee makes kind of a 50-50 decision, and you're not really too sure if it's right or not, best to give him the benefit of the doubt, because he has to make that split-second decision in real time in a tense atmosphere, two teams who need the result for very different reasons. I think overall he had a decent game. I think he handled the Quevedo and Benincasa incident well in terms of giving them a red card. All the big decisions I think generally he got right, but the penalty certainly debatable.
Oh, before we segue to the next bit, there's one more thing I wanted to say about Alianza Lima. I already read that on Bengochea, but the thing that does bother me is that Bengochea does not want to change those the right back, the left back, because, I mean, Michael mentioned it earlier. You don't have to play good football to be a good team. Like, you can have that ugly style of work. The problem is Bengochea doesn't want to doesn't want to fix the two weaknesses, the fullbacks. I mean, left back, okay, I guess you could say it's okay. I mean, Givino has his good games. Duclos can be okay. That right back position is disgusting though. Like it disgusts me how bad it is. And if you put in a good right back there, like you'll still play ugly, but at least you'll be a decent team because at least you have more stability in the defense. So it does bother me a little bit. But anyways, let's move on. Peter, do you have any questions on this section before we can segue into the next bit?
Let me give like 30 seconds here. First of all, I think that it's quite interesting that I think the problems of one big team are kind of, you can find a solution in the other team and vice versa. I'm kind of hearing this a little bit, right? We have like all the young guys at Universitario, and they're just getting like overplayed, and they're just giving their all because that's all they can give. And on the other side, we have Bengochea and not playing the young guys, and that's really hurting Peruvian football. And I mean, if you think about it, it could also work the other way around too. The problems that Universitario is having, Alianza could probably solve. They just need some good signings. Well, Alianza just got some good signings. Anyways, it's just interesting how they, in the end, as much as there's a rivalry between Universitario and Alianza Lima, both of them need each other. There is no Peruvian soccer without both of them.
Kind of like Canada and the USA.
Let's not get into politics. Anyways.
Australia and New Zealand.
There you go.
I don't think so. New Zealand beats us at every sport. They're better at rugby.
Let me do two more comments on El Clásico. First of all, I think that if we had a World Cup situation where we had VAR available, I think it would have been a different call. I want to say that it was a split-second decision with the penalty, regarding the penalty. And I think he went with his gut. And, it is what it is. I think we also have to highlight Aldo Corso. I really hope that he gets another chance abroad. I mean, that guy's incredible. I mean, honestly, he's come and saved Universitario so many different times, and I think he showed a lot of spirit, specifically, especially during this game. And last but not least, there's been a lot of talk on who needed the points the most. I think they both needed the points, but at the end of the day, for playing such a meh style of football, I think that the tie was pretty fair to me. It was pretty fair. I think both of them got 1 point, and call it a day. Call it a night.
All right.
Also, in terms of just real quickly, in terms of refereeing, like if you don't have VAR, you really do have to just go with what you know. And if you go back on your decision after giving one, it kind of makes you look like a flip-floppy referee that people won't trust as much. So you really just have to go with your gut and stick to your decision. So, if he calls it as a pen, then stick to that decision.
Yeah, for sure. You can't bow down to player pressure. I'm pretty sure that's against the referee rules. So, anyways, now let's move on to the next bit. Peter, let's do some of the questions first. The ones that don't kind of go with the next topic, which is the Peruvian national team. The topic everyone has been waiting for, but we're here now.
Well, that is pretty much all of them. So we should probably just move into Peru because they're literally all Peru related. So. Okay,
so I'll start with I'll let Michelle talk first because she hasn't gotten a chance to talk too much. So firstly, what do you think Gareca should do with? I actually have some comments on Gareca. I'll go with them in a second. But what do you think Gareca should do with these Germany and Netherlands game? Do you think he should go for the win and do something historic, even if it's a friendly? I mean, it'll help in the FIFA rankings and everything, and that's always good for professional sport. Say what you want about the FIFA rankings, but it does help you in seeding. It does help you in credibility. And what do you think you should go for the win there, or do you think you should try and experiment some new players?
Oh, that's hard to say because it's because I play on the weekends, right? And my aim is to always win. Like I always want to win. I never want to go in and be like, let's try something new. We tried something new and it didn't work, and I hated my coach for it. I was so angry at him. So,
is Coach Bengochea?
But I think when you're going up against European teams, I think maybe for the Germany team, try and go for the win. That's a big team to go up against, and I feel like you don't want to be changing your squad too much against Germany. But if you're going for a team that's not as star-studded, then why not change it up a bit? Put in some different players, get some younger guys in. I don't think that there's much of an issue there. But for the most part, I feel like go for the win. Make Peru stand out even more. Give him a name.
Now, I did want to say something about Gareca because I wasn't here in the last part when they talked about Noel. And I did want to say that this is a big, you've heard me on previous pods. I'm sure Peter remembers when I said that Gareca, I'm worried about his work getting stale. And I'm not so worried about that anymore, but I do think he has something to prove here. I do think that he needs to kick on the next generation and not let this current one stagnate. Don't make the same mistake that Mexico, Uruguay have been making for the last few years. So I think that's going to be one of the biggest challenges, one of the biggest conflicts that Gareca's going to have to get past. And another reason I say this is because, he should start giving another chance to players. I think Zambrano's out of the picture now, so I'm not going to go say him. But someone like Alexander Cayens, my cousins were in I was in Toronto with my cousins, and they actually went to the Toronto FC vs New York game, and they were booing Alexander Cayens, they told me. So I wanted to say that I think that's a very good thing for Peruvian football, because say what you want about provocative players, but I think that gives extra personality to the player, and I think that's something we haven't seen in Peruvian football in a long time. So the way he won the red card against Altidore was very intelligent. So I think that is very, very good thing. And I think Cayens has done enough to get another second chance. And I think Gareca should kind of see this as a clean sheet, a blank slate. And I think he's got to give players chances. The ones that do deserve them, no matter what. You got to look at you can't look at agendas anymore. Like, you can't say, for example, I don't think Pizarro deserves a chance. He's too old. I don't think Zambrano deserves a chance. He's regressed too much. But I think someone like Kayuk, for example, who rejected his chance to be a national team a few years ago, I think we should see it as a blank slate because he's done nothing wrong. What do you think, Peter?
I mean, first of all, you want to have players who want to be with the group, right?
Yeah.
If you're not, remember that old meme, if you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best?
Yeah.
Well, this is the perfect example for this, right? He didn't want to get called up to the Copa America Centenario. Now that we made the World Cup, now that we're a reputable national team again, you want to be called up again? I'm sure Gareca's looking at that and thinking, I don't want to mess with the harmony here. In terms of a player, absolutely he deserves a call-up. The problem is, does he display Santa Maria as the left-sided center back? I don't think he does. Plus, you still have Alberto Rodriguez, right?
I don't think Alberto Rodriguez is going to be on anymore, though, to be fair.
But until he retires, he's still going to be in contention. He isn't an experienced player. He was a starter.
That's my main worry about the Gareca, though. Like, I'm worried he's going to stagnate and not let the next generation kick on. Like, as much as I criticize Beckerman for doing having poor tactics, no game plan with Colombia, at the very least, he's kicking on the next generation. I mean, he's brought in some new players. It's not the same team as 2014. So even though his tactics aren't the greatest anymore, I think he is kind of on the right track. And I think that's what Gareca has to look up to. I just think I'm not too worried about Gareca's tactics because I think he'll get them right. But I'm just worried about he's gonna forget about the next generation because we have some very talented players coming through. So
okay, but he also brought in a new generation in the 2016 Copa America, right?
That's
he phased out everybody. He brought in new players, many players who many people didn't even heard of. I mean, most people abroad outside of Peru never heard of Edison Flores. Now he's a key player, right? Same with Renato Tapia. I mean, you and I, Brian, we were ripping Renato Tapia, I think, before March 2017, the Uruguay game. Now look at him, right? So I think he'll do just fine. I think he knows that he has to replenish the squad. A lot of these players who started at the World Cup are going to be in their early to mid-30s by the time Qatar 2022 kicks off.
Well,
I'm sure he knows that.
I'm not saying replace the whole team. I'm just saying I know.
He will bring in players, Brian. I don't think there's any doubt that he will bring in the players. He knows he has to.
That's a challenge for me, in my opinion, because I mean you have I think I know Christopher's gonna like this, but I think Carrillo is one player that might get left out a little bit because he's kind of regressing a little in a way. I know Peter likes to move to Al-Ahly. I didn't personally, and I didn't mind Ramos' move to Al-Nassr, but I don't like Carrillo's move to Al-Ahly. And I do think in 4 years, if he can maintain a good physical shape, then he'll still be in the team. But if not, he'll be 31, and I feel like he'll lose a bit of pace. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. That's a very hypothetical thought.
First of all, it's Al Hilal. And also, I didn't not like the move. I just said I understand the move, given that it's a loan and he needs to play. But I digress.
All right. Well,
let me throw in. Go ahead.
Isn't it like anything that you just need to find the balance? It's like you need to find that balance, and I'm sure I trust Gareca to find that balance between bringing in the fresh blood and keeping maybe the core base of what's gone well for Peru in the last few years. I'm not concerned. I think Gareca. I think he knows what he has to do, and I think he knows that he needs to replenish the squad, as Peter said. I think he knows. I think he probably already has a very good idea who he's already looking at. I think he's been looking well before for the last few years.
Oh yeah,
the future in mind. I think it's not just he's after the World Cup. He's just thought, oh God, I've got to think of a replacement for Rodriguez or whatever. I think Gareca's thought about this for a long time, and he's a very intelligent man, and I think his team. I'm not concerned. I wouldn't be concerned if I was a Peruvian supporter about this.
Well, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I just think this is going to be a challenge for him. Like you got to think, what's the next best thing you could do for this? So, Michelle, what do you think of this whole conversation here? What do you think of this conflict?
In terms of what?
The conflict about Gareca. About either making his work stale or maybe not stale, but basically if he's gonna kick on the next generation or if he's gonna just maintain the current one and stagnate or a mix of both. Are you concerned about that?
I mean, yeah, I feel like he's probably just gonna stick to what he knows for the most part. If it works, why fix it? There's nothing broken. It's working, but I think lots of people are gonna want to see something better. Like you can't stay as average for the whole your whole time, right? You want to keep getting better and better and better. But how do you get better if you don't bring in new people? If you don't mix it around. And I think that's a real test of, what kind of manager he's going to be, continuing on from this World Cup run. So, it would be good to see some new players, see some people, that's different and someone who can bring something new to the squad. But I guess it's whether or not he decides to do that, and that's not something that I can predict.
So you want to finish? You wanted to finish?
I have a few comments. First of all, I understand your concern, Brian. I focus. I think for us to be worrying about that right now. I think that part of this new generation, I think that this new generation kind of has to earn its spot. I think that they've proven that they're, but I think that their trial by fire is going to be the Sudamericano, right? The South American tournament that's coming up in January. An example of this that I can think of is my absolute favorite generation.
Christopher is frozen.
This is a real one. This is a real one. Someone screenshot that.
I wish I could, but he's not speaking anymore. So
just click at his name.
Look at his photo.
You know what? It's fine. We can just move on, I guess. We'll move on to the questions. Then if he comes back, he can say his piece. So we'll get into the first question because it kind of plays into sort of what Gareca is going to do for these two friendlies, the first of two friendlies. So we'll kind of group them together because we kind of got two similar questions. The first one from Abel Gamarra at Abelanda81 asking us, with so many of Gareca's usual 11 barely playing, such as Ramos, El Mudo, Trauco, Tapia, Paolo, or playing in the reserve team such as Edison Flores, do you think we will see a very different starting 11 versus Germany and the Netherlands? And Kevin Montalvan asked us at Game Montalvan 7, who do you think will make their way back in this call-up, such as Peña, Manzaneda, Holberg, Abraham? He also said, P.S. Alianza finally has a number 9, as a little note in there. So,
he's not a terrible manager, though, Kevin, so don't get too excited.
But he's using them effectively so far. 2 goals in 3 games. Can't argue with facts. So, look, I personally believe that in the Germany and Netherlands games, Gareca is going to try and win those games and play the full squad. I think he's going to call up players, new players, and or give opportunities to those reserves, quote unquote, the ones who haven't played as much, in the US-based friendlies, which are going to be in October and I believe November as well. That's when I think he'll use it. Same thing with the 2020 Copa America, which is going to be in the US. 2019, he'll actually try to win using his full 100% available squad. In terms of the players who I think could come back, I think Peña will. I think Abraham will. I don't think you're going to see many other different names, maybe 1 or 2. I could see like a Ray Sandoval coming in. I know he's had a great start in Mexico. Maybe he gets a shot. But other than that, I don't expect much different. What do you guys think?
I think Abraham will definitely come back because he's been very effective in Argentina. He's actually surprised me a lot. Like he's gradually improved the last 2 years. Since the end of his time at Cristal and Thomas Vélez, I think he's also kind of a Gareca favorite too. So he'll definitely make his way back. I'm not sure if he'll start, but I think he's an option, which tells you how much depth we have in the center back. I mean, you take out Santa Maria, who I think is an exceptional center back, and Abraham. Then you have Ramos, who can still use his effectiveness, and then you have Kayet, who he's not going to get called up, but he's still a good center back. So it tells you got some depth. Michael, I'll let you go on to this other topic. What do you think?
I mean, I presume he'll refresh it a little bit, bring in a few other people who maybe weren't playing at the World Cup. Benavente, maybe. Hoberg's been playing really well at Alianza. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on. He played, wasn't it, the Copa America? Was it Centenario? But he's not. Not played since, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he probably deserves another chance. apart from that, I think there'll be a lot of the players who are at the World Cup as well. If I were Gareca, I think I'd be looking at taking the base of the team who are at the World Cup and bringing a few of the younger players and maybe the less experienced ones just to have a look at them. But yeah, I think there'll be a few names: Abraham, Benavente, Hoberg, as I say, and then a lot of people we already know. I imagine.
All right, Christopher, why don't you finish what you were saying, and then we get to the next question.
And he's muted.
He's muted. He's muted. Well, this is awkward now, isn't it? Now he's playing charades. He's trying to tell us to be charades. If you're listening on SoundCloud, I'm sorry. He's trying to tell us something. I can't understand him.
Yeah, he is. This is unfortunate.
This is awkward now, isn't it?
Bad luck.
Don't cut this out, Peter, by the way.
I'm not going to cut it out. Are you kidding me? This is great. And he's just laughing in silence. It's hilarious. You guys are
He's muted, too.
This is the one episode you guys should watch on YouTube, by the way.
I'm not trying to leave the pod. I'm going to try and invite you again while Peter reads the next question. So,
all right, we'll move on to the final question. This is from Robbie C at BNCEO. What is the feeling in Peru about the national team playing more matches in the U.S.? A good thing or a bad thing? We know that Ricardo Gareca is actually not a big fan of this. He actually criticized the federation apparently about a week or two before he signed his extension because they went ahead, and not the sporting side, but the business side actually went ahead and organized these friendlies in the U.S., which he was not pleased about. And I would imagine that's for travel reasons, the fact that you've got to, train in an unfamiliar place. Athletes are very much creatures of comfort. In Peru, I mean, they probably would like to see more of their national team. Maybe Brian and Michael can speak more about this, but I'm sure that our followers in the United States who are Peruvian expats are very, very happy about it.
Yeah, no, I was kind of disappointed when the Chile game was moved to the United States. I was thinking about going to that one. It didn't have that freaking raffle thing that they had in the last few matches. But, yeah, they do it for marketing, really, because they know it's going to fill up. So, I mean, it's going to fill up here, too, but they know it's going to fill up there as well. So, may as well, endorse it in other countries as well, which is a bit disappointing, but, it can work. Christopher, can we hear you?
No, we cannot.
No. Okay, well, Michael, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, my impression as an outsider when I was watching the games, when the Croatian and the Iceland games, they were played in the States, was that the Peruvian TV was actually very proud to see these stadiums in the United States full of Peruvians, kind of in their Peruvian shirts, and I don't get the feeling. Yeah, I think Brian's right, and there's a sense that you'd like to see maybe more of them, but I get the impression that there's a great deal of pride that these kind of expats living in the United States or in Switzerland or wherever are filling out these stadiums to go and watch them, and that, I thought that really came over quite clearly on the TV on Peruvian television.
Yep. Michelle, what do you think of the games being played in the U.S.? I know you rather than play at the Sydney Olympic Stadium.
Well, I can I can understand how it feels to not be able to watch your team or your country play in your own country. Australia hasn't played here since the World Cup qualifiers. None of their friendlies are ever in Australia. They're always in Europe. And so it sucks, because you want to be there. You want your country to play in your country and you want to be supporting them. But instead you have to pay thousands of dollars to go to another country to watch them play. And for me, it's just the worst feeling. It's just annoying. It's frustrating. If it's a home game, why not play it at home? I don't think it really makes much sense other than it's just money. People want money.
That's why.
Yeah. People just want money. And it sucks because it's like, when you're a fan, you want to do everything you can to watch them play live, but sometimes you can't and you just have to watch it on TV. And it sucks. That's all I can say. It just sucks.
Peter, are there any other questions?
There was just a little caveat from Robbie as well. He wanted to ask, will the PES deal with the FFAF mean that there is no Peru in FIFA 19? Not necessarily, but typically speaking, when one of the two franchises gets the license, that usually means no for the other one. So it's a possibility unless maybe FIFA pays more or equal. I don't know. But typically speaking, when one of PES or FIFA gets the license, that means that the other one does not.
I don't think it's a loss anyways because there's no Guerrero in FIFA. There was no Guerrero in the FIFA World Cup mode. Like,
that was nuts.
Like Digrio Navarro predicted in the next day there was no Guerrero on the FIFA. So there you go. I know Christopher's going to like that comment. So,
if he could speak.
Yeah, no. Christopher right now reminds you of Pedro Suarez Vertis. I'm sorry, that was so rude.
Silent laughter from Christopher. I love it.
That was so rude. I'm sorry. And I'm a big fan of Pedro Suarez Vertis as well. He used to live by me when I was a child. So that was all right, but enough rambling. I think that's gonna end the pod if we have no other questions.
No,
so
good.
Okay, so I'm B_Bertinandida on Twitter. I think Christopher is VIZFC on Twitter at VIZFC. VIC_FC. So I keep getting my underscores wrong. I'm gonna say for him because he's lost his voice. And Michael, what is your Twitter?
MT Williams 987.
All right, Michelle, how about you?
I'm at Michelle A. Morris.
And Peter, why don't we sign it off with you?
All right, so I am at Galindo PW on Twitter. You can follow the show at Peru Waltz. Subscribe to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, all that good stuff. If you listen on an iPhone or just on iTunes in general, leave us a review because it helps boost the popularity of the show. Unfortunately, no Sportancast shout out from Christopher this week, as he cannot speak. Or can he? He's going to try. He's going to show us a piece of paper or something.
He's writing it.
he's writing it down. I told him to WhatsApp it to me, but I guess not.
All right, we're gonna wait for him to finish writing it. So you have 10 seconds, Christopher. 10, 9. No, I'm not gonna rush him. Let's just wait till.
We'll wait. But last week they actually drew in the first leg of their Departamental stage final. So we'll see if they won or lost or drew.
They're actually in the Copa Peru now. They qualified for it. So
okay, so they must have won. There you go.
I'm not sure they won. In the final, I can barely read it.
If only he could wait.
Pornacrash is international.
Okay, there we go.
I don't know if they won, but like the finalists, the two finalists go to the national, and then the winner or the loser gets seeded better. So
he's saying 3-1, 3-1 they won.
Yeah, 3-1 they won. Okay. Well, there you go, Christopher playing charades on the podcast. I never thought you'd see that. So I feel bad for you, those who have to listen to the uncut version on SoundCloud.
The cut version, you mean?
The cut version, yeah. This is the uncut.
This is the uncut.
This is the uncut. The sport uncut.
Oh my god.
Okay, well that's gonna end the pod. Thank you for watching and or listening, depending on where you're listening. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.